like when you're in there, you're kind of doing your own thing, but did you have to because it's racial, right? Like blacks are with blacks, whites are with whites. So is that how does that work? Like, are you able to do your own thing and not be affiliated, or is there like a middle ground, or is it like all or nothing? How does that work?
It honestly depends on the facility, and in Utah, there's definitely rules, but for the most part, it's not like in Utah, it's more blurred lines because there's a lot of different like gangs that aren't necessarily racial,
Mhm.
right? There are races and stuff like that, and there are like racial gangs, but there's also like a lot of gangs that like don't that have multiple races in them too, if that makes sense.
Okay.
That's why Utah's kind of a little different in that sense, where I think the prison recognizes like 160 different gangs,
Yeah.
and these guys all have alliances or umbrellas and affiliations and things like that. So if you're not affiliated, um, then you can kind of do your thing. I mean, I where I was at, dude, honestly, like where I did a lot of my time was in small sections with a lot of lockdown time. So in a section there was probably only 40 dudes, 50 dudes in a day. For a lot of the time I did, it was just stuck in a box. Like it was shitty time, dude. It was like it wasn't there was I wasn't there wasn't as much movement in a lot of in most of the facilities where I stayed at. So while it was good because there wasn't as much politics going on as, I mean, there's still politics, it's still prison, and the sections, like, I mean, you are still going to like communal areas at times and things like that, but um it's definitely not as bad as some of what you'd see in like federal prisons or probably like California prisons or all these other places. So I mean, the actual facility of like the prison in Utah is probably a bit more like that because it's just way bigger and I mean, they rebuilt it, so I don't know what it's like now, but I didn't spend too much time there. I probably spent like maybe 4 months of my stay in that part of the prison, like in the actual like cell block, and then uh was housed at like this little mini prison out in the middle of nowhere where they house like 400 or 500 extra guys at a time, but it's just shit, dude.
Mm.
It's,
You don't want to be there.
no, dude, honestly, I
No.
would rather deal with the politics, dude,
Yeah.
and have access to the weights and have access to the sun and have access to like CD players and shit like that. Like where I was at, it was hateful, dude. It was like you better know how to read, bro, or you're gonna go crazy.